Hey, good morning, everybody. It's Hammer. Today is Wednesday, July 9, 2025. I am here with the daily mortgage rate update, the only place on the web that we get together live each morning, 9:30 a.m. Eastern time, talk about what's going on with mortgage rates and pricing, what's driving the market. Again, this content really is for my mortgage originator friends. However, I do know there's a lot of consumers that actually watch. So if you're a consumer, let me know in the comments that you're a consumer. I'm curious. Would love to see it. So, in the meantime, today we're going to be talking about the reasons we have to celebrate. It seems like yesterday the bond set a bottom. We'll go into more detail about that. The tale of two Kevins for the Fed chair. These are names I don't even recognize. We'll see if you do. And what effect tariffs are having on rates and why. Remember, you can join me live each and every weekday morning, 9:30 a.m. Eastern time as we do the show live. If you're not here this morning or any morning, you can always watch us on the replay. If you do, all I ask, just give me hashtag replay in the comments. Let me know that you were here. I get a lot of views through the analytics, but I like to know when people are actually watching because they want to watch. And the comments and the hashtag replay helps me with that. So remember, don't forget to smash that like button. If you're on Facebook, give me a thumbs up. Maybe tag an originator friend. Also, if you are on YouTube, go ahead and click that thumbs up and subscribe. Remember, your comments drive engagement. Also, I'd like to know what you have to say. So let me know. If you'd like to get a text reminder, I send out a quick text alert when I'm going live. We don't sell your data or anything weird like that. You can go ahead and sign up at hmmr.io/reminder or use this cool QR code. If you're on your phone right now, you can take a screenshot, go back to your photos. The QR code will work. I think that is so awesome. QR codes were so useless years ago before phones were able to read them natively. So it's really come a long way. Anyway, welcome to all the live folks. If you're here this morning, say good morning. I like to say hi to my friends. Julie Lawrence, good morning. How are you today? Hope all is well in your world. Mike Morano, good to see you, sir. Mallory Fotiades, I hope you are enjoying your cold plunges. Alison Foy, hello. Jerry Avila, good to see you, sir. Angela Walters, great to have you here. Amy Blauser, good morning. Randy Tinkle, giddy up. I'm going to see you soon in a few days, my friend. I'm excited. Glad to see you. Megan Bissell, Mike Brown, great to have you all here as well. If I didn't mention you, say good morning. Otherwise, let's go ahead and get started. Tom Dedmore slipping in. Good morning, Tom. I see you as you're coming in right under the wire there. All right, so let's go over what we got going on this morning. Quick recap of what happened yesterday afternoon. Let me zoom in on this. I might have to refresh. Oh, no, there it goes. All right. So you can see here, pricing comes out right around 10 a.m. Eastern time. You can see where bonds are right at this level, right around 99.35. And then through the day, we saw some improvement. When things go up, this is good for mortgage bond, or this is good for your mortgage rate sheets. When mortgage-backed security pricing goes up, that's good for us. So we are happy about that. We'll draw a little smiley face, right? However, when things go down, reprices worse come very quickly. When things go up, reprices better tend to come a little bit slower. So we really didn't see any reprices better yesterday. Lenders were pretty slow on all of that. However, those gains are holding into the day this morning. Let me move this sideways and we will scroll over and come on and pop that on there. So rate sheets should be better today because we are seeing some improvement this morning. We had a little bit of negative right here, and I thought it's not great, but we've since recovered and we are up higher. As you can see here, we are up 8 basis points on the morning, which is fantastic. And that puts us up close to about plus 20 basis points since around the same time since pricing came out yesterday. So that's going to improve rate sheets a little bit, and that's great. Now, if we take a look over here at the candlesticks, after peaking right here, right? We were peaking here, and then the next day we opened lower. Remember, red candlesticks mean that bonds lost ground. So we started here, but we ended here. So this was the day that we peaked. We lost ground. We started the day lower, improved a little bit, but we're still down on the day. Here we started a little bit higher, ended the day lower. Again, down, down, down. Here we were down. Yesterday, it showed some signs of recovery. I'm going to refresh this because it should be a green candlestick here this morning. Let's see if we get an updated. Okay, hold on. It's glitching. There it goes. Okay, so That's better. That's what we want to see. So this is the actual accurate candlestick for today. It's actually green. So we've seen a bounce. Now also take a look at all these lines right here. This is important. We're watching the technicals quite a bit today. We do have technical support. The purple line is the strongest. It's the 200-day moving average. The green line is the 100-day moving average. I put a lot less stock in the blue line. It's the 25-day moving average, but those are all right around 99.35. So we do have some support right there heading into next week's inflation data, and we've got some room on that. So anyway, Mike, I'll answer that. I'll get to that one for you in a minute. So reprice risk on the day today is low. As far as what we've got going on this morning, we're up. Like I said, we're up a few basis points, which is fantastic. And then we've got the Fed meeting minutes at 2 p.m. Eastern time. Markets aren't really expecting anything different than what they're already expecting when it comes to the Fed, though. There is basically no expectation at all of a June rate cut. We can see that here when we watch the Fed futures. The expectation of a September cut still about 70%. Still about 2/3. So that's very much where we have been the last couple of days. That's not going to change. Nothing from the Fed meeting minutes is going to change that. We have at 1 p.m., we have the 10-year Treasury bond auction. That, if it goes poorly, that'll show up on the rate sheet here on bonds at least. We'll see a little pullback on that. So we want to be careful about that, but otherwise, not much that we have to really worry about there. So this is a good outlook. This is a good, we're seeing signs of a bounce here, and seeing signs. Oops, hold on, I gotta click. All right, we're seeing signs of a bounce here. Hopefully this helps us to kind of see some pickup. Same thing, if we look at the 10-year Treasury yield, we want to watch at 4.42. 4.42 is kind of that mark. Yesterday we ended at 4.40. It's improving now at the moment. Look at that, 4.38, which is fantastic to see. So we want to watch 4.42 is the number you want to be watching on that 10-year Treasury yield. If it goes above that number, that's going to be concerning to us. So there's really no economic data the rest of the week. We got jobless claims tomorrow. Otherwise, there's really not anything big going on. I mean, let me double check because I could be wrong on that. But I don't remember anything being on there. Hold on, I'm going to pop this open and look at it this way. Let's look at the economic calendar together here, and we'll put this on this week. So, yeah, no, I mean, we got the 30-year bond tomorrow and nothing really on Friday. So, really not anything going on at all. So, there you go. All right, let's go ahead and address Mike's question. How many of y'all have heard about the Vantage model going in? And I can't copy that link. I can't paste that link. So what is that? Wall Street Journal has it in there. Let's take a look. So how many of you have ever heard Pulte? I saw a bunch of stuff on Facebook about it yesterday. So the Vantage 4.0 score is the score. The three credit bureaus got together. They created the Vantage model. It's different than the FICO model. A lot of people in the industry are hoping that this will bring down costs, but I don't know. Does anyone know? Here you go. Let me pull this up here. I'll make this. Oh, nope. Okay. That does that. I have to share my screen. Okay. Randy said, I have a hard time floating refinance loans in a volatile market. If the impact of current rates is solid, I lock it. Been burned before. So as far as that, and then we'll come back to the conversation about the, why is it? Oh, I picked the wrong. That's why. Anyway, I agree, Randy, especially because we don't know what's going to happen with next week's inflation data. It might not go our way. So if you like it, lock it kind of a thing. I would cautiously float today. Let's see how pricing comes out and watch these gains. If they hold, you could squeak out maybe a little bit better pricing this week. How much more? It depends on which way we kind of ebb and flow. So, but if it's risk averse, I've been in a lock stance the last couple of days. It's only today that I'm kind of flipping to an all floating stance. So let me put that on there because I don't have that on there. Cautiously floating all. All right. So I would be cautiously floating all of my loans right now. I want to see how far these gains will go. So anyway, let's pull up that article about, I didn't talk about the two Kevins yet. All right. So let's talk more about what Randy was saying and what Mike was saying about the people that bring us trigger leads are now bringing us credit scores. They were bringing us credit scores, though. As it is, we don't trust the three bureaus. Why the world do we want to do Vantage as owned by the three bureaus? And then the argument of competition, it's not competition because who is delivering the data to you? Whether it's Fair Isaac or it's the bureaus are the one bringing you the data anyway. Experience, this. I don't think it's going to alter the price at all. And I'm going to be upfront, even though it's not a popular opinion. I don't think that this is good for consumers. Underwriting would change guidelines. I think it's a non-issue just because Bill Pulte, who, by the way, so far, I didn't know the guy up until a few weeks ago, right? But I have very little respect for this guy. I think he's a shill for Trump. I just think he's a mouthpiece. His grandfather owned a housing company. So what? I don't think that makes him relevant in our industry. I know that he's done investing in the housing market and maybe he's the greatest coming since Christ. I don't know, but it certainly doesn't strike me that way. Putting a tweet out there like that things are going to change like that. Hello, we know in the mortgage business nothing changes like that. So lenders can now choose to use the Vantage score if they're going to sell to Fannie and Freddie, but that doesn't include Govy, and all that stuff. So again, it's so far away from mattering, and it's there. FHFA's what this will do is increase costs because if you're going to run it Govy, but if there's any chance it's going to go FHA, you're going to still need FICO. So even if they do start implementing it, you'll see guideline changes to adjust for any score changes. So it's not like, the score will be higher. They'll just say, okay, it's a FICO score of this and a Vantage score of that. So you're not going to see any improvement. And at the end of the day, I do know that for a handful of people, in my opinion, a very small amount of people, that are credit worthy but struggle to put together a credit report. Guys, I wrote loans for a decade. I know that you come across those people, but in 2025, with the market the way that it is, if somebody hasn't been able to build their credit for 6 months, I don't know that they should be buying a house. Buying a house is hard. And we weren't struggling. I know that you can argue that we're struggling to find buyers a little bit more now, but we weren't struggling to find buyers the last few years. I don't think this is a big thing. Yeah, I know it allows people. The other problem too is what happens if you start putting those credit card, that $300 Verizon bill on debt to income ratios. Is this going to change DTI stuff? Are these things show up? I don't look at credit reports on an active basis, but I don't think your Verizon bill shows up on your credit report, but it will if it's on that Vantage report, won't it? If they're using it for credit. So, like Randy pointed out, implementation in the mortgage world takes forever. With this, I read we can use the mid score of the higher borrower. Clickbait. It's all clickbait. They don't write the guidelines, so none of this matters. It just, again, because Pulte says something for Fannie and Freddie, and then the underlings are the ones that are supposed to have to implement all this stuff. Where is any of this? So I think this is all just a bunch of blah. I don't think we'll be talking about it in 3 days. Mortgage lenders is a little practical. I'm reading this article about it. FICO's pricing power in the mortgage industry could erode with greater competition. The fee that FICO charges credit bureaus to pull a credit score is $4.95. So look at this. You guys pay $100 for a credit report, but FICO charges $4.95. $4.95. So how is it changed from FICO to Vantage? Who's making the money here? I don't know. This tells me, am I reading this wrong? You guys tell me, am I reading this wrong? So if you're paying the bureaus $100 for a tri-merge and FICO is getting $5, now granted, that's up 60 cents from 2018, but it's $5. So is this a lie? Is this wrong? Is it totally, where's that all go? VA said they're going to allow Vantage as well. It'll take a little while. It's going to take a lot of while, And with VA, again, a guy like Randy Tico could definitely talk more about it than I could. But I think that you've got manual underwrites and reasons for credit scoring. You've got lower credit score allowances for VA. So in my opinion, I don't think it really helps there. I think this is a non-issue. I think it's a non-whatever. It certainly doesn't. You want to help lower the cost to homeowners? Then find out why these credit companies are charging ridiculous amounts of money and selling trigger leads. They finally didn't they just pass the legislation for trigger leads that they're gonna block them. Let's see that get implemented. Allison said, just like AMC is charging $175 to manage appraisals. Exactly. Right, Allison? I mean, these are just ridiculous fees that have been stacked on over regulation. I remember when we used to go ahead and contact appraisers directly. Appraisers weren't the ones responsible for driving up costs in 2007 that led to the 2008 crash. Wall Street was. When you gave people loans with no income verification, no asset verification, they were stated wage earners that were buying investment properties with no money down. That wasn't an appraisal issue. So I think AMC's and AIR and all this crap was garbage. I think you should be able, but I think that you should be able to set your comp at whatever you want. I think all of the Dodd-Frank stuff, I think 95% of it should be rolled back. If you go through it, I'm sure there's something that I can find that probably makes sense. We could argue that licensing is not a bad idea. That was implemented, the SAFE Act, as part of that. But maybe that's the only thing that I think is even remotely something that's reasonable with all this. Otherwise, I think it's a bunch of trash. So, Jonathan, why will the trigger lead bill change nothing? If I thought that stops them from being able to sell trigger leads. Wouldn't that change everything? I'm missing. I admit I'm not read up on this one. So someone, Jonathan, and let me know if you guys agree with Jonathan, if that's the way that you guys read that as well. So let's jump over for a quick minute. Let's talk about the other things that we're going to talk about. So the tale of two Kevins. Kevin's battled to be the next Fed chair. Anyone ever heard Kevin Hassett and Kevin Warsh? I've never heard of either one of these guys, so I'm not paying attention. I'm obviously doing Kevin Warsh, a former Fed governor vying for the position. Kevin Hassett, close economic advisor to President Trump, serious contender. Two Republicans vying for the next one. One is rising to the top. Kevin Hassett, one of Trump's closest I thought that I actually think that Waller would be the better choice for Trump. Not that he'd be a great governor. I haven't done a lot of thought on that, but just the connection and Trump being able to kind of have tweak. And also, Waller is more dovish, and that's what Trump wants right now. Two ambitious men competing for the approval high stakes contest, similar to The Apprentice, blah, blah, blah. Pulte and his whole argument about the Fed and the renovation of their building. It's a government building. The renovation number is absolutely ridiculous. I had a conversation on Facebook with Tim Hart about this. It's ridiculous. But Pulte, I have no respect so far. He's done nothing to earn my respect. He babbles a bunch of stuff, but I haven't seen him really do anything. Again, we're going to implement Vantage. Okay. Yeah. Show me when that really happens. When does that show up in DU? Who's rewriting all the guidelines? Who's, let me see that. So, there's thought that Bessent's doing really well, I think, as Treasury Secretary. And I actually do have respect for Bessent and what he has done as Treasury Secretary. Pulte, I think, so far has done nothing that I respect. Bessent, I think, has done a good job. Speaking of Bessent, let's jump over to the tariff conversation and kind of what that was. Trump delayed reciprocal tariffs after Bessent wanted more time on deals. Speaking of Bessent doing well. Yeah, Randy pointed out Wall Street bought pools with waitresses making $15,000 monthly in stated income. Yeah, exactly. Johnson said no more to it, and I'll send it to you. Awesome. Appreciate that. Ron, licensing is just an extortion fee. Unfortunately, you may be right, my friend. Yeah, send me some stuff about that trigger lead bill. I'd like to know more about that for sure. So, but looking at percent here, the tariff stuff has been part of why we've seen some negative movement in bonds over the last week, but it's not the only cause by any means. But it is definitely some, comes to part of the play. Hold on, I got to refresh this again. It locked up again. Okay, so as we take a look here, is what you got going on. Bonds don't like the uncertainty about all this stuff and all the conversation about all this. So President Trump delayed reciprocal tariffs to August 1st. They were supposed to be July 9th. So that got moved. And Trump was frustrated at the lack of progress, blaming them for not offering deals good enough for the U.S., sent letters as a negotiating tactic, et cetera, et cetera. So anyway, it's more of the same. Ron says, the best we can expect from most of the government officials is if they'll do nothing. If you look at the history, the mortgage meltdown dates back to the Jimmy Carter administration. That would be, I would love to hear more about that, but, and I don't necessarily disagree with you. That's like the argument that if the Fed cut rates, it's going to fix the housing market. Again, Pulte, I think that's one of the stupidest things that is out there as an idea. The Fed cut rates here. Let me show y'all something so that I want to back up what I'm saying here. So the Fed cut rates in September, right, of 2024. And when the Fed cut rates in September of 2024, let me open this up a little bit. Not that much. Okay. So here we are, August of 2024. Hold on, I got to move this over so you guys are seeing the edge of the screen. There we go. Okay. So here we are in August of 2024. Rates were, again, Mortgage News Daily, we'll just use it for consistency, 6.63, 6.55, 6.52, 6.49, 6.58, 6.56. Again, this is a month before the rate cuts, okay? The Fed cut in September, and then look where rates went, 7, 6.8, 7. Rates are higher now. The Fed has cut rates by a point, right? When was the first rate cut? Was it July? When was first Fed rate cut 2024? I think it was July, right? No. Oh, yeah. The first cut was on September, 50 basis points. They wanted July. That's right. So anyway, and that was kind of proves my point here is that the Fed cut rates in September. Remember, this was an expectation that we were going to see even further rate cuts when mortgage rates drop down. When the Fed cut rates, look at this. Rates are higher. Oh, wait, they're higher. They're actually higher than where they were. But even though the Fed cut policy rate by a point, so shouldn't they be so much lower? Shouldn't they be a point lower? No, it doesn't work that way. Mortgage rates are long-term rates. The Fed affects short-term rates. Yes, it influences mortgage rates. We've talked about that, of course, but not as much like everyone says. Actual strength in the labor market, increasing inflation at the same time. Their cut was only political. Anyway, we're at 23 minutes. I won't go into that one. We could definitely talk more about that. I don't think their cut was political. If you look at the history of the mortgage meltdown, yeah, okay, we got this. So, all right. Well, anyway, that's it for me, my friends. Again, just to give you the heads up, cautiously float. Let's see where the day goes. It looks like we may have seen a floor for bonds. We're excited about that. We'll see a bit of a rebound, and hopefully rate sheets will continue to improve as we head into the end of the week. It's not going to be much, but it's better than seeing them get worse, isn't it? So, all right, I'll catch y'all tomorrow. Make it a great day. Bye-bye, everybody.